Namaste. I welcome you all to the video lecture series of DBMS. My name is Drashti and I am the faculty at ICT Marwadi University. Let me jump to the screen. Till now we have seen uh, types of select query, group by, order by, subquery, and how we can use the joint operation and the date function. Today we will see a store procedure and the trigger. These are the questions that we will solve today. Now let's jump to the workbench. What was the first question is, we have to create one procedure which will take a two integer value and we want to provide a addition of it. How we can do? First of all, what was the syntax to create a procedure? We use the word create procedure and whatever the name that you want to give to this specific procedure, here we have to provide a two argument. Why? Because we want to make a sum of two integer. If they provide in a question three integer, then three argument. Fine. Now the thing is, in a programming language we have a practice of this integer and then whatever the variable name, but here we have to provide first a variable name, it is known as argument, and what was the specific type of that argument. Is this fine or not? Fine. Now the next thing is, we have to provide a multiple SQL query in a single procedure with the help of begin and end. This is the syntax of a procedure where you have to mention that in between a begin and end, whatever we are added is a part of this procedure sum. Fine. Now, what was the problem here is sum is a specific keyword, so we are not allowed to provide any predefined aggregate function. Now you know how we can display any result. Here, I can do this way, as well as I can assign a two variable with the value 10 and 20. Yes or no? I can provide a argument with specific value, and now if I do, when I use single time at the rate is a local variable, and if it is a two time at the rate, it means it is a global variable. Fine. Now let me run this part. Here you see is a result of this, and if I want to provide with the help of this, then I will use. Fine. Let me rerun this. We have not executed this line. This line need to be executed. Yes, this line also need to be executed, and now we try to execute this operation. Now 30 is the result. Fine. So can I use the same thing in my with the use of this procedure? Yes. But how can I call this procedure? For that I require a keyword, that is call. Fine. Call and whatever the name of your procedure. My procedure name is sum1, and what I want to pass is at the rate a and at the rate b. Fine. Or I can directly write a and b. Okay. Now thing is, whatever we have write here, that is select and then a plus b, that need to be right inside. But when I'm writing this, I require a semicolon, and here also we require a semicolon. So they will think it is the end of your SQL query. So what I can do is, for temporarily I want to change the delimiter sign. Ideally delimiter is semicolon, but now temporarily I want to change the delimiter with the any specific symbol. I can use dollar, ampersand, backslash, forward slash, anything that you want to use. Right now I'm using the dollar. Dollar can be one time, three time, whatever you want to set. Okay. And after I complete everything, I will reset the delimiter. Okay. With the same this command. Okay. Now the thing is, after the procedure will end, I want to complete the thing. So that's why here our procedure is completed, and after procedure will completed, I want to reset my delimiter with the semicolon. Okay. Now what should I write inside this procedure is, I need to make a plus b, right, and I want to label them as a sum of number, whatever you want to set. Now here I use the semicolon, otherwise they will show the error. Without the semicolon they are showing the error. So if I put the semicolon here as well as I put the semicolon here, it will make no sense to the software. That's why we are temporarily changing the delimiter sign. Okay. When this line will execute, they will think dollar is the symbol on which they will consider end of their query. Okay. So that's why here we have to mention a dollar, whatever you have specified here, that symbol need to be rewrite. And after we complete our procedure, always have a habit to reset the default delimiter, that is semicolon. Am I clear with this thing? Okay. If everything is fine, our procedure will be created. Then after, this a and b symbol will be set, and call will be this call will use this syntax, and that's why we are able to get sum of number as a column and with the 30 value. I'm using this all the execution at the same time. They are showing the error that no database is selected. So what I can use TasteDB, which is our default table that we have created. Yes. Now rerun. Now they are showing a value 30 with the column name as a sum of numbers. So here this way we have completed our first question. Fine. Now what is the second question? Insert a two more store information using a single SQL command. With the help of the single SQL command, that is this, calling specific procedure, and in that specific procedure we want to insert a two store information. Fine. Now let me remove all this part. Space is clear. Now what I can do, I need to create same delimiter, whatever the value you want to set. I am setting the dollar again, or I am setting a backslash 2 time, and after this I want to create my procedure, and I want to set a name, insert into a store table, whatever you want to set. This is your procedure name. Fine. T1, T2, whatever, P1, whatever you want to set, this is the procedure name you need to set, as well as whatever the number of argument you want to pass. As in our store table we have a total 4 column, so ideally we have to add 8 argument. Fine. Now let me create a default structure. This is the default structure we are using, yes or no? And after completion of it, what is the thing? We have to set a default, that is semicolon delimiter. Now the thing is, we have not set any primary key or any not null constraint. So ideally I can use a single store key, and that will also work fine. But what do you think? We should add a 1 column, 2 column, 3 column, or all the column you want to add? For example, right now I am adding only 2 values, that is your store key and the city key. Fine. If you want to add 8 parameter, you can add. Fine. Now what are the things that you want to add? For simplicity I am using the A, B, C, D. A is your integer, B is also integer, because your store key and city key both are integer. Fine. Same way C and D is for second row. And after I am doing this, I want to insert into what is the table name is store, and I want to pass only 2 columns, that is your store key and second is your city key. Right? And these are the values that I want to add, A and B. Here you don't have to mention that ampersand sign. Ideally when we are using this thing out of your procedure, they will misguide with the without a ampersand, they look A as your column name. Okay, but here A will be considered as their argument. Fine. Now same query, only difference is in place of AB we should write A, C and D. Fine. C and D. And I think we have complete our procedure. And how can I call this procedure? With the help of call insert store. This is my name, and I want to, how many store we have? Let me show you that thing. Select star from store. We are having error because of I have not completed this. Here also they will, I am making comment, and I just want to see how many store information I have. Okay, I have total 12 store information. Okay, now out of this 12, what I want to do, after the 9 we don't have a 10 and 11, so I can add 10 and 11. Okay, so let me do that part. Let me create one store with the store key 10 and whatever the city ID you want to set. I'm considering right now 1 as the city key. Fine. This is the way I am calling this procedure, and if it is successfully completed, what will happen? My store table will have a new true row. Fine. Now let me execute this. They are saying insert store does not exist. I think I had make a mistake. No, I think I have not run this thing. Yes, I need to run this first. This now the procedure is created, and after the procedure is created I can run this command. Okay, what they are saying is the procedure is successfully called, and how can we assure that thing is updated? By looking at the table content. Now here you can see new row with the store key 10 and 11 is added. So I think we have completed the second task also. Yes or no? Now let me jump to the third query. What is the third query? Third problem says we have to create one procedure which return double of pass argument value. Now please understand, here they are expecting something in a form of return. You see, this is procedure, not a function. So how we can return something? Let me delete all this thing. So for create, let me create one sample procedure. Okay. I'm creating one procedure P1 with the type of a int, and what they are expecting is whatever the value I am passing as a need to be double and it will be returned. How can we do this thing? Let me complete this thing, and after this what I want to do, I want to set the default delimiter which is semicolon. Fine. Now what will the thing is, when I call the P1 and whatever the value I am passing, let me set one variable a. You can set a variable name anything. Let me call it P. Now I am setting the value P as a 2 and I am passing the value 2 to the P1 procedure. And after setting the 2 value, what I am expecting is a value should be set with a new parameter, that is a 4. So what I can do, I can multiply them with the 2, and this is the way we want to update the value. And how can I check the value is updated or not? For that I can use the select command. Select @p and select after we have called. Okay, this way we can verify what is the value before we have called and what is the value of P after we have called this P1 procedure. Fine. Yes or no? Now let me execute everything in a one execution. I think we should, we have complete. Yes. Let me execute. P1 is already exist. So there is an error which are saying P1 procedure is already been created. So how we can drop an existing procedure? This is the line of code that you can use to delete any existing procedure. Here you don't have to mention what are the argument your P1 procedure have. Fine. Let me execute again. Now what you can see, we have successfully dropped the P1 as well as we have successfully created a P1. We are successfully set the P variable and we call this procedure. Now you can see there are two results, 7 and 8. 7 is nothing but your the value before we have called the procedure, and 8 is your result after we have called this procedure P1. Now the value are same, 2 and 2. Why we are not able to get a 4? Here the problem is here. What is the problem is? There is a problem is by default every argument that we are passing in a procedure are of a type input. Okay. Here only A is allowed to get an input, but A is not allowed to return something from this procedure. If I want to set something which are able to catch a value as well as able to return, then I use the third type, that is your in out type. Let me show you. For a simplicity, I am taking a two variable, one with the out and one with the in. Okay. So what will happen here? Here we are passing a two argument, one with the in type and one with the out type. So whatever the value that will be updated in B, and B have the tendency that they can able to return something from this P1. So what will happen when we want to return something, it will be catch in a Q. Fine. And if I write a value of Q, can I concat this thing? Let me try. If I'm not, then, and what default value you want to set? For simplicity, I am putting both the value as a 2. Fine. Let me see I am able to execute or not. And after this, I want to print the concatenated value. Now here they are showing 1, but this is not the right, because they are considering pipe symbol as the operator. But I don't want this. I want what? Let me do the semicolon. Then it will consider the two different columns. Okay, now they are showing the 2 value with this sign. This is sufficient? Yes. This is the way we want to execute. Here also, let me do ampersand Q. Okay. What do you think? This will work or not? Whatever the value that we are passing will be catch by A. So A value is 2 and 2 value will be double and it will be reflected in B, and B is the same as Q. So Q are getting the value 4. That's why whenever we have to call this P1, the Q value is updated with the 4. Let me rerun everything. Okay. I'm successfully able to update the Q value, which is 2 before the execution and 4 after the execution. Can I use the single variable which are able to catch as well as return? Yes, I can use the in out type. And here if I'm setting only one variable with this type, I don't require two argument. So what I can say, here I'm not requiring the Q, so I'm deleting this thing. Okay, and here also we only have to pass single argument. And let me execute this again. So everything is returned. So here you can see value before the execution and value after the procedure call. Fine. This way we have successfully complete our third task, that is create a procedure which able to return a double of the whatever the value that we are passing to that particular procedure. Yes or no? So this is the third question that we have completed. Now what is the fourth question? Fourth question says maintain a log table for every update operation happen on a store table. Fine. Whatever the update we are performing on a store table need to be maintained in specific log table. First of all, we need to create one log table. Yes or no? How can I create a new log table? You know the create table name. Yes. Let me do this thing. Create table. What is the table name you want to set? Log. Yes. And if there is any log table that are already there, what you can do? I can drop table. This is the syntax you have to use if you want to drop any specific table. Okay, query is completed, and let me delete this thing. Now which are the thing that you want to set in this log table is, you want to set a system time, you want to set the value which are there before we have to update it, and the value which are updated after the update query fire. So here the column name is same but the value are different. Okay, I want to change a city id with the 2. Wherever we are finding any city id with 5, I want to replace all the city id 5 with the 6. Then it is what? The new value is 6 and old value is 5. Why? Because we are trying to update all the city key which are 5 will be updated with the new value 6. Okay, so what we are trying to do is we want to take a entry of every update query. Whatever update happen in a store table need to be updated in the log table. So what the column we want to set? The time, exact time, system time that I require to load this update will be fire at which specific time. So type of the column is read time. Now I require two column, one with the old and one with the new. Okay, we are right now considering we are updating only single column. That's why we have to set two value. First with the old value of column 1 and second with the new value of the column 1. We are considering that we are only updating a single column. Fine. What was the type of that? If we are updating a city key, then it is an integer type. If we are updating a city name, then it is a varchar type. If I am updating the region or a manager, then I require a, what are the type of this column is varchar. Fine. Now I am updating a, let me say, manager. Okay, I want to change the name manager. So new manager and the old manager. First column I am setting as the old manager and the type is varchar. You know what is the size of that? Is this 20? If you don't know this, what you can do, you can ask or you can see. Let me complete this command. And how can you check what was the size of your old manager is? Ask the description of specific table, and that you will get the idea. Now you can see manager have the size of 20. That's why we are keeping varchar 20. Now what is the next is old manager is complete. Now new manager information. Okay, and what is the type is varchar 20. Fine. Now here I have able to generate my create table query. Now let me execute this thing. Query is completed. Let me see. Yes, it is successfully created. Now what should we need to do is we need to create a new procedure, or should we do anything else? This log entry table need to be performed by us or a system. It is not performed by us. Every time we are not firing any query procedure whenever the update happens. So what we can do, we can assign this specific task with the specific SQL operation. And here in our case, it is an update operation. Fine. So this is nothing but your trigger event. Trigger are in a two form, one before and after. If I want to set something you have to check before the update will happen, then you use a before. And if you want to add something in a log table which are happen after a update is completed, so what you do, you use the after trigger. Fine. Now what is the procedure to create one trigger is, it is a syntax that we can use create trigger create trigger name. I'm setting a trigger name as a T1. Fine. This is the name trigger. Okay. Now in a trigger, what you have to do, same way, begin and end. Yes. And here also we require some delimiter. So let me set it, delimiters backslash, and after this I want to set a default, that is your semicolon. Now here they are showing some error. What was the error is, we have created a trigger but we have not mentioned that this trigger is associated with which table, which operation, before or after. Everything you have to mention when you are creating a new trigger. So how can we mention all these things? For that, write down in a next line, that is, in a lock table we will ideally do the operation after everything is completed. Yes or no? So what you do, write down after, and which query you want to update is update query. So after update, and on which table you want to do, that is store table. Fine. This is the line you have to write whenever you are creating any trigger. If you want to fire a trigger which will associate with the insert operation, then you write only insert, not a into. Okay, only you have to write after insert on store. This way you have to write if you want to set a trigger with the insert operation. Fine. Now what you can do, right now also they are showing some red line. This red line is for what? Here we have assigned a specific time, location and the operation, that in specific update operation you have to fire this trigger. But we have not mentioned that this trigger will happen only once or for all the record, all the rows which are affected by this update query. Right now we want to set this trigger for all the row which are affected by this update query. So how can we do this? For that we write this in a new line, for each row. This line you have to write for each row. Okay, now they are showing everything in a normal font. So this is the mandatory thing. Whenever you are setting any trigger, this line you have to write, and inside this begin and end you have to write down the logic. Fine. Now in our case, our logic is very simple. When the something happen in the store table, update operation is completed, afterwards we want to create a new entry in a lock table. You know, new entry means what? We want to add something in a lock table. We don't want to delete, we don't want to update, we want to add something in a lock table. So we require which command? It is an insert command. Fine. So we have to write down insert into, what we have to write down, insert into, what is the table name? My table name is lock, right? And which value we want to add? I want to add everything. So I can write blank round bracket, and then afterwards I want to take a system time. How can I take a system time? It is a now by default system function which will provide date as well as time. Okay. Now here it is the most important part is, we as a developer already aware that if we are setting this insert only for a manager, that's why I'm able to write down new manager and old manager. But you are not aware that which entry should be we have to add in this. In that case we have to uh, create a column for every original table. Now in original table we have total 4 column. So for every 4 column we have to keep 2 column in a lock table. One with the new store key, old store key, new city key, old city key, new manager, old manager, new stock and old stock. This way you have to keep all the at record in a lock table. Okay. But in our case, for simplicity, we are already aware that we are creating this query for only manager record. Write down, you can say maintain a lock table for every update operation on stores manager record. If they mention this, then you have to perform a single, you require only one column update. So that's why we are writing here old dot, what is one column name is a manager, and then semicolon, then I use new dot manager. Fine. And this is the way we have to complete our insert into command. Fine. Now how can I trigger this? First of all, let me create this trigger for us. And how can I trigger? I have to create this first. Now they are showing some error, trigger already exists. So what you can do, here also you have to delete this trigger. How can we delete the trigger? Same command, drop trigger T1 and then semicolon. Fine. Let me execute this thing. Now they are showing trigger is successfully created. Now how can I check this trigger is working perfectly or not? For that I require to create one update query. What is the update query we want to set? Anything, but it should be associated with the manager. Fine. Update into, what was the syntax for update? Here we are not using any into or table. We directly use the table name. Update store and set. What value want to set? I want to set a manager with the value 20. Okay, or if I want to set a new manager Ram, where city keys or a store key is equal to, if I write city key, then multiple record are there with the same city key, then all the record which are updated, we get a different entry for a lock table. Let me show this part first. As I am already aware that I have a multiple city store key with the in a same city key 1. In a city key 1 we have multiple stores, and all the store manager will get with the manager name Ram if I successfully complete this thing. Should we fire this query? And for every record we should get a new entry in our log table. Fine. Now let me execute this query. It is showing unknown column manager. I think here I had made mistake, spelling mistake. Now they are saying we are not able to perform this task due to the SQL safe update. Yes, I need to reset this with the value 0. Okay, and now I am able to update a record. Okay, they are successfully updated and they are showing that 4 row are changed due to this line. How can I check? Let me see the city store table, and then afterwards I will check what is the content in a log table. Okay, select star from a store. Okay, whenever there is a city key 1, the new manager name is Ram is updated. Fine. Here you can find Ram. Here also you will able to find Ram. Now can I check the log detail? Yes. What are the value inside my log table? These are the value that we are having. So before this thing we have a Ramesh, and for a last 2 we don't have assign any manager. So that's why they are showing a null value. Fine. So this way you can assign a specific trigger with the specific action. I hope you understand this thing. Now as we have complete our 4th problem, let me jump to the last problem, that is check before a insert query in a store table that stock is not less than 3. If stock amount is less than 3, we will not allow to insert in a store table. Now this is the query, or you can say this is the procedure. What do you think? This is a procedure or a trigger? It is a trigger. Why? Because we want to assign this thing with the insert operation. Now here they mention a before, but ideally whenever we are doing insert operation and if we are checking any constraint, it should be fire before the execution happen. So we require the before trigger. Fine. Now let me clear all the screen for us, and let me start with the blank delimiter. What are the things that I want to set? I want to set a single dollar, and I want to create a new trigger with the name T2. Fine. And this trigger will be associated with what? After or before? Before. Yes, before. And which operation you want to set? Insert. For insert query you want to set a trigger T2, and it will be work on which table? It is on a store table. Fine. And after this you want to perform for every row, for each row. This is a default line that you have to write. Fine. And after this you have to write begin and end. This is the end of your trigger. And after this we want to set a default delimiter, that is your semicolon. Fine. Now the thing is, here we have to check whenever something try to insert a new record, their value should be less than 3. How can you check? When we are having the update, we have a new and old, but when we are doing a insert we have only one value, that is your new value, because new is the only thing that we have. When we are inserting something we don't have any old thing. Yes or no? But when we are using a delete command, what will happen at delete? When we are deleting something we have only old value but not a new value. Please make sure you this keyword is very important. If you uh, if you replace the value old with the new, it will meaning will be very different. And many time what will happen, if you are trying to delete something and in a delete trigger you are trying to find a new dot manager, they will fire a query that new will not be able to find. Okay, so make sure whenever you are using some specific trigger, you should understand where we use the new keyword and where we use the old. Fine. Now here we want to check if. So here what you can do, we have to create one pair with the if and for terminating the if we use and if. Okay, and this is the way we have to complete. Now we don't require a else part. If everything is fine, value would be inserted in table. We just want to block the execution if the value is not matching the criteria. Okay, now what is the thing that you have to match? what the thing you have to check is the stock amount. Now what is the stock amount is your new dot stock should not be less than 3. If it is less than a 3, then what you have to do, you want to set what, you want to set a signal, and this signal is specific number associated with everything. If everything is fine, you have a SQL state as a 0, but you have a problem, you will assign different values, and system had already assigned different numbers to every problem. So don't change that default values. Okay, we are in MySQL they suggested a range that is 45 range. 45 is the first two digit of your error stage that you can use for a custom error setting. Fine, let me use that part. It is a signal. The signal is the word that you have to use. Signal, then after what you have to do, you want to set. You want to set what? SQL state. This is the thing you want to set, and what value you want to set need to be done in a single quote. Fine. Now 45, as I mentioned, is a range that you can use. This is the first two character of your error message, and rest of the three position is the range of 000 to 999. It means 1000 are the option you have to setting 1000 custom error you can set for your system. Okay, now as we have created a first trigger, so I'm using 000. If it is my second error message, then I use 45001. This way you use all the stack. Right, now is this a complete thing? No. After this also I have to assign a specific error message, that if this is the problem, that what was the reason that this type of error is executed and why our insert query is not successfully performed. Okay, for that we require to set a what, text message. Yes, what was the thing that you have to mention is message text should have appropriate valid message, whatever you want to stack. I will write stock should not be less than 3. Okay, this is the message I want to set. Okay, this is the end of the thing. So here what will happen, if the stock amount is less than 3, then only this will happen, otherwise they will fire the insert operation and the new record will be added in your stock table. Fine, let me execute this thing first. Do you find a problem? What was the problem in this trigger? We have not used this dollar sign here. We require a dollar sign, not a semicolon sign. That's why they are not able to find the terminating symbol, and that's why we are not getting any error message as well. Fine, now let me run this thing. Now they are showing some error message missing then. Yes, we require a then, and now let me execute thing. Now they are saying one T2 trigger is created, and how we can check this trigger is successfully able to perform that task or not? For that, let me write a insert command. Insert into stock. Insert into stock. What are the value that you want to add is, here I want to add a 20 store detail, store key, 12 city key, and I want to set a Sita as the manager name, and I want to set a stock which a value have only 2. And right now if I execute this command, this stock should not be less than should fire. Let me try this thing. Yes, we are saying stock table does not exist. Okay, my table name is store, not a stock. Let me rerun again. Now let me execute this query. And now this is the message that we are getting, stock should not be less than 3. This is similar to this. And if I want to modify anything in this, I want to first drop the existing trigger, drop trigger T2. Whenever you want to modify an existing trigger, you require to perform this way. Otherwise what will happen, they will not allow to use the same value. And if you want to add something, then you use the next trigger number. Now what you can able to see is, see, I had updated the message. So here the new message should be with this symbol. Okay, now most important is, here we don't have a create or remove. In other software we have create or remove trigger. It means if the existing T2 are already there, we want to update this trigger. But in MySQL, we don't have this procedure. So what you can do, if some trigger is already been created and if you want to modify it, what you can do, you first of all drop the existing trigger, and afterwards you can create a new trigger with the same name, and that will be associated with the insert operation. And whenever we want to insert, now new message should be reflected. How can we check? Run, execute everything. Now everything is executed, and this is the error message that we are getting, AA stock should not be less than 3. This is the updated message that are reflected in this query. So here we have completed all the problem. I hope you understand the procedure as well as trigger. In a next lab we will meet. Till then, practice and take care. Bye bye.